Yung lupa nyo ba hanggang ngayon hindi pa nakapangalan sa inyo? Paano mo ngayon ililipat ito sa iyong mga anak?
Ideal ba na kapag bumili ka ng lupa o minana mo ang lupa, dumaan ka sa proseso ng paglipat ng titulo sa pangalan mo? Pero marami sa ating mga kababayan, hindi ito ginagawa. Attorney Ramon, hindi muna nila nililipat sa pangalan nila.
So, ito ang tanong ng reader natin today, and her name is Wendy M. And she says, my spouse and I purchased a 90 square meter house and lot from my aunt and uncle sometime in the early 80s. They only gave me the land title. No other legal documents were issued to prove our ownership of the land. They passed away before they could give us the deed of sale. We have been paying for its taxes since we acquired them. We really didn't mind the lack of deed of sale since we have been living there or here even before we bought the property and nobody contested our ownership. However, I want to transfer the property to my children. Is it possible? Please advise. Thank you. And this is from Wendy M. Yan.
So, interesting, Attorney Ramon.
Very interesting. Now, so today, ang pag-uusapan natin generally three things. Ano dapat gagawin once makabili tayo or bigyan tayo ng bahay at lupa? Ay, ano yung proseso? And dapat ba may kasulatan to? Yan, pag-usapan natin yun today. And anong pwedeng gawin in case walang kasulatan? Yan.
Pero bago yan, let's do a shoutout sa nagbigay sa atin ng comment. And this comes from Mika. Ang galing talaga ng seminars. It's very easy to understand. Please do more videos, more power to you. So thank you very much, Mika. And please keep watching and sharing.
Yes.
Kung gusto niyo naman mag-submit ng tanong para sa aming show, please go to www.legalguide.ph and click the submit topic button. Now, let's get on with the show.
If you're having issues transferring your land or have issues transferring the properties of a loved one who passed away, we have something that can help. We recorded an FAQ session where we answered the most common questions related to real property transfers and estate settlement. You can access the recording by going to www.legalaccess.ph and choosing the transferring land or the estate settlement topics there.
Welcome to Legal Guide Philippines, where we simplify the law to help you make better choices. I'm Attorney Erwin Sagala, and I'm with my partner,
Attorney Ramon Ramirez. Okay, so what are we talking about today? Let's recap ano yung tinanong ni Wendy. Okay, for our viewers who just tuned in. No, so anong nangyari dito? Anong tinatanong ni Wendy? Well, Wendy bought a piece of land, no? Actually, a house and lot from her aunt and uncle. Ayan, so but ang problema, walang deed of sale. So hindi sila nag-execute ng kahit anong papeles.
Ang taas ng trust level nito, Attorney Ramon.
Siguro kasi magkakamag-anak, no? So parang saka na tayo mag-issue ng deed of sale or whatever. I'm sure nagkaroon ng palitan ng pera.
Ang hirap sa usapang ganyan, yung saka na. Naku, napapatungan yan. So parang
may apo ka na. Saka na pa rin.
wala pa rin. Diba? So parang for me, it's very dangerous na ipagpaliban eh. But since it already happened, let's deal with it. Diba?
Yan. So ayan, so walang deed of sale na na-execute. Presumably nagpalitan sila ng ng pera, no? Or nagbigay ng pera presumably si Wendy sa sa tito at saka sa tita niya. Okay? And of course, mukhang binigay sa kanila yung possession ng property. Doon na nakatira ngayon si Wendy and yung pamilya niya, no?
I think that's evidence na maayos naman yung usapan.
Yes,
hindi lang na-document na maayos.
Yeah, in fact, 80s pa, nandun na sila. No? Nandun na si Wendy and her family. And I think also, ang binigay na, kumbaga, pruweba na pagmamayari na ni Wendy, yung property is, binigay nung tito at tita yung titulo. Nila, no? Sa inyo na yan. Yan, kayo nang bahala dyan. No? So, mukhang yun na nangyari. No? So, after these 20, 40 years, she's made improvements on the property, I presume, and she says na she's also been paying yung amilyar or yung real property taxes on the property.
So, inako na talaga niya, no?
Yes.
As if owner na talaga siya. Doon siya nakatira, siya yung nagbabayad, except hindi siya yung nakapangalan sa titulo.
Yun. So, yun ang problema, no? So, since wala silang documentation nung sale, hindi rin na i-transfer yung pangalan niya sa titulo. Okay? And ngayon, na-deads na si uncle tsaka si auntie, no? So wala na sila. Hindi na sila makapagpirma ng deed of sale, no? So ngayon, nakapangalan sa titulo is si uncle tsaka si auntie pa rin. Okay?
Na-deceased.
Ngayon, okay lang naman kay Wendy. Kaya lang, isip ni Wendy, ay gusto ko na yatang i-transfer to sa mga anak ko.
Or pag ako, something happens to me, mapunta sa mga anak ko na maayos.
So paano ang gagawin ko? And for Wendy, no, sabi mo kasi you wanted to transfer the property to your kids. You might want to check out one of our episodes on transferring property to your kids. So check it out on our saan ba nila ma-check out yan? Sa blog natin at
www.legalguy.ph. Just go to the search button and type in transferring property. Lalabas yun.
Yan. Oo. So consider that muna bago mo i-transfer, no? So consider that episode namin.
Whether it's a good idea to do so. Okay.
Oo. Okay, now it's very understandable why this happens. Bakit hindi maililipat hindi sila magpipirmahan ng dokumento, hindi maililipat sa pangalan ni Wendy? It's very understandable. There's many reasons why hindi nila gagawin to.
We don't actually know what happened or what the reason is in this case.
Yes.
Pero let's talk about the reasons, Attorney Ramon, na-encounter natin with clients.
Okay, ang pinaka-usual is busy yung mga parties, no? Ay, naku, saka na yan. Anyway, magkakakilala naman tayo. Ang dami kong ginagawa, no?
Actually, hindi ko rin masisi kasi totoo naman mabusisi.
Yes.
Ang dami rin ng steps eh. So, hindi ko masisi talaga yung tao na hindi maasikaso immediately.
Lalo na't magkamag-anak naman ang katransaksyon di ba?
Definitely maglilive ka na ito from school or office.
Hindi lang once.
Hindi lang once.
Several times. No?
True.
Maglilive ka talaga. No?
True.
So, yan. Another reason is maybe hindi alam ng parties yung proseso. No? Akala nila as long as may kasunduan sila, nagpalitan sila ng pera,
or kung hawak ko na yung titulo, ayos na yan.
Okay na yan. Wala na magko-contest yan. Posibleng they don't know the process kaya hindi nagawa ito ni Wendy. Or like we keep saying kanina, ano na lang talaga, trust. No? Trust na alam naman yan ng lahat ng kapitbahay na akin yan, ng kamag-anak. So walang problema.
Understood na yan.
Yeah. And this really happens. No? Nangyayari talaga yan na ang problema dyan is pag tumanda tayo, yung mga,
hindi nila understood yan.
Hindi na understood ng mga anak, ng mga apo, di ba? So,
and that's natural kasi wala silang konteksto.
Yes.
Wala sila nung naganap kasi yung transaction.
Yes, exactly. And last, there are actually a lot, but the last we identified is very typical. Saka na natin gawin yan, mahal yung tax.
Wala pa akong pambayad.
Wala akong pambayad.
Iipon muna
tax.
ako.
So, saka na natin i-document. So, these are the normal reasons that we encounter why hindi na do-document. No? And are they valid reasons? I don't know. Probably not. No, but it just means that there are reasons and they exist in real life. Okay? So, now that we understand kung anong nangyayari kay Wendy, ano yung sitwasyon niya, no? I want to talk about what Wendy should have done, no? Nung binili niya tong property from her aunt and her uncle.
If you were there advising Wendy at the time, what would you have said?
Yeah, kung ano muna yung ideal scenario. Yan. Okay, so ideal scenario, so let's review. No, we've talked about this a lot of times in our previous episodes. No? So basic facts: there was a sale of real property, nagkabentahan. So the immediate thing that Wendy should have done is document yung sale. Okay, paano yan? How do you document a sale? Ideally, it should have been through a written contract. Okay, so nakasulat po na kontrata. And format-wise, as long as the proper elements are there, there's really no need to be too meticulous about it. But it would be really nice if you had professional help, no, in drafting your contract, your deed of sale. So for sale of property, normally we call itong sale contract a deed of sale or a deed of absolute sale. Yan. So number one, document. Number two, it's important, lalo na here in a sale of property, real property, dapat po in a public document po or public instrument yan. And that means dapat po notaryado. Okay? So dapat notarized yung ating contract. Yan. Third thing that Wendy should have done is to
pay.
Yes, tama. Well, to pay magkaliwaan sila or whatever. After ma-execute yung contract and magkaliwaan sila ng pera and whatnot, you're supposed to may hindi lang si uncle at auntie ang babayaran.
You also have to pay
Yes.
the government.
The government.
Yes.
Yes, hindi pwedeng walang payment si government.
Hindi pwede mahuli.
In the form of what we call taxes.
Mhm.
Yan. So ngayon, in a sale of property, ano po ba yung mga taxes na involved dyan? No? So, ang pinaka you will encounter as private individuals, no, hindi naman kayo corporation engaged in bentahan ng lupa. Ang usual na ma-encounter nyo is what you call the capital gains tax. Yan, or CGT. Yan. So, very important yan na tax. No? It's something that you guys should always take into consideration when purchasing property. Ano pang dapat ng ginawa ni Wendy? Dapat nagbayad din niya ng local, documentary stamp tax. Yan. If it was applicable in the 80s when she bought it, then she would have paid the documentary stamp tax. No? And if she did it now, she should pay that. No. Another tax na kailangan bayaran na usually nakakaligtaan is yung local transfer tax
or LTT.
Yan. Okay, so local transfer tax, ito naman tax din to na binabayaran on the transfer of property pero hindi siya binabayaran kay BIR, no? So si CGT at saka si capital gains tax at saka si documentary stamp tax kay BIR yan, siya yung kumokolekta niyan. For local transfer tax, kinokolekta yan ng ating local government, no? Kung nasaan yung property.
Ang dami ng steps, Attorney Ramon. Ito yung sinasabi natin na hindi ka lang isang beses mag-a-absent. Ang dami mong lalakarin.
Totoo. So, yan yung, so that's the third thing that Wendy should have done. No? So, number 1, contract. Number 2, notarize the contract. Number 3, magbayad sa BIR at sa munisipyo ng proper taxes. Third is, fourth, no? Once mabayaran ng itong mga taxes na to, punta rin tayo ulit kay BIR. Hihingi tayo ng certificate authorizing registration.
Nag-leave ka na naman.
No, leave ka na naman. Ang tawag dyan, car, right now as of recording, it's also called an e-car. No? So, may electronic car na kasi ngayon. Yan. No? Dati
parang
kasi,
cellphone lang yan.
Dati kasi written lang yun.
Oo.
Ngayon, electronic na siya. So, sana lang, no? Futuristic na tayo. Alright, so, fourth is get the car. Next, once you get that car, ito na yung authorization natin o pruweba natin na bayad na lahat ng taxes. Wala nang habol ang gobyerno sa transaction na to. So, pwede na tayong pumunta kay Register of Deeds.
RD.
Si Register of Deeds, siya naman ngayon ang magkakancela nung titulo na nakapangalan kay uncle tsaka kay auntie at i-issue niya ang panibago nakapangalan kay Wendy na.
Leave ka na naman.
Leave ka na naman, definitely, no. Sobra, no, masalimuot siya na proseso. And last, hindi pa 'yun.
Magli-leave ka na naman.
Magli-leave ka na naman. Bakit ka magli-leave na naman? Kasi
may iba ka na naman kausap.
Babalik ka na naman ngayon sa munisipyo. Kailangan mo ngayon kumuha ng tax declaration na bago na nakapangalan na ngayon kay Wendy. Yan. So, yung tax declaration na yan po ang basihan ng munisipyo kung para sa pagbayad ng amilyar.
So, ito, Attorney Ramon, kaya naman sa totoo lang. Kaya naman, medyo mabusisi lang talaga, tsaka komplikado.
Yes, and on each step, meron yung mga set of requirements na may checklist yan, na pag hindi mo nasunod or pag taliwas lang kayo ng konti sa checklist, baka magkaroon tayo ng mga issues.
Actually, yung parang observation ko dyan, kung hindi mo talaga industriya to, like tayo, sanay tayo dyan because we do this for clients all the time. Pero kung hindi ka sanay, mapipikong ka talaga. Wala bang katapusan to? Ito na naman. May kulang na naman.
It really happens, no? And even kami that we do it on a day-to-day basis, our team does it on a day-to-day basis. Meron pa rin kaming ma-encounter na situations na mapapakamot ka na lang ng ulit. Hindi ba parang meron namang bagong hinihingi, no? So, these things really happen and we really understand kung bakit maybe sina Wendy hindi nila pinagdaanan yung pag-transfer ng property. Ayan. So, that is yung so yun yung review natin of what Wendy should have done, no?
What you would have advised her if you were there from the start.
Kung nandun siya, kakabili niya pa lang or bibili niya pa lang yung property. So, next thing I want to talk about is what now? Ano na yung kay Wendy? What's gonna happen? So, di ba, mukhang wala silang in-execute na contract, di ba? So, the general rule, we want to talk about the general rule for a contract, for contracts in general, is that it will bind parties, whether it's written or verbal. So, under Philippine law, okay lang ang written contract or verbal contract. It should generally bind the parties, no? Provided all the essential elements for that specific contract are present.
Okay.
Okay?
Pero, pag real property ang
for real
pinag-uusapan,
property, now, the general rule is that the sale should have been reduced into a written contract. Yun yung sinabi natin nung una, di ba? Dapat, and this comes from our civil code. Okay? So, it comes from several provisions of the civil code. The first one is Article 1356. Okay? I think I should read that. No? So,
Attorney Basa.
Okay.
Pasok.
Pasok. Okay. Article 1356. Contracts shall be obligatory in whatever form they may have been entered into, provided all the essential requisites for their validity are present. However, ito, importante ito, when the law requires that a contract be in some form in order that it may be valid or enforceable, or that a contract be proved in a certain way, that requirement is absolute and indispensable.
Lutong.
Oh, in such cases, the right of the parties stated in the following article cannot be exercised. Okay.
Yun.
Article 1357.
Meron pa.
Meron pa. If the law requires a document or other special form, as in the acts and contracts enumerated in the following article, the contracting parties may compel each other to observe that form once the contract has been perfected.
Perfected.
The right may be exercised simultaneously with the action upon the contract. Yan. So, simultaneously.
Simultaneously.
Okay, so very clear na so sabi, pag if required ang certain form for a contract, dapat sundin 'yon.
Yes.
No? And under Article 1403, mahaba yung Article 1403, that's doon nakalagay yung Statute of Frauds natin, no? And generally what that says is for the sale of real property, no? It's important that it is in written format, no? So just to summarize what Article 1403 would say, no? It should be the conclusion is it should be in some written form. Okay? So ganon ang yun ang requirement under the law, no? So now, bakit kailangan itong Article 1403 or the Statute of Frauds? Well, the purpose of the Statute of Frauds is to prevent fraud and perjury in enforcement of obligations. Okay? Kasi hindi naman pwedeng kumbaga aasa tayo sa memory ng
or
mga
sa
witnesses.
sabi lang.
Yes.
So, i-summarize ko lang yung Statute of Frauds sa Attorney Ramon. So, sinasabi sa Civil Code, itong listahan na to ng mga transactions na to, huwag kayo magkamali, isulat niyo to.
Yes. Yan. Okay? Otherwise, magiging unenforceable siya. Okay?
And kasama doon yung real estate
Yes.
transaction.
Yung pagbenta ng lupa, no? So, unenforceable, so what does unenforceable mean? It means it's an agreement which cannot be enforced in the courts. Okay? However, guys, please take note that even if it's unenforceable, it does not mean that the contract is invalid or does not exist. Okay? So in the case of si Wendy, hindi naman automatic na hindi niya sinulat, babay na. No? Hindi na nangyari yung transaction. No? Hindi naman ganun yung batas natin. No? So please just take that into consideration. So anong pwedeng gawin ni Wendy here? Well, in an unenforceable contract, requiring it, let's say, to be in a public instrument, she can compel the other party to reduce yung usapan nila into writing.
Isulat mo,
okay, please. Yan. Now, another way that Wendy could have acquired yung ownership. No? So, isa was through contract. Napag-usapan natin na dapat may kontrata tayo. Okay? However, aside from having a contract, it is important also na ma-acquire ni Wendy yung ownership over the property through anong tingin mo, Attorney Erwin?
Possibly occupation niya.
Yes. Okay. So a written contract, no, in the sale of real property is not the only thing that's required. It's also required that buyer acquire ownership of the thing? And how does the buyer acquire ownership of the thing?
Paano mo masasabing akin na yan?
Yan, okay. Ang sumasagot dyan ay Article 712 or 712 of the Civil Code.
Attorney Basa, pasok!
Yes. Hindi ko na tinanggal yung salamin ko. So, ito na. Ownership is acquired by occupation and by intellectual creation. Ownership and other real rights over property are acquired and transmitted by law, by donation, by testate and intestate succession, and in consequence of certain contracts by tradition. Ano yung tradition, Attorney Erwin? Nung binabasa ko to, I didn't understand ano yung tradition. So, under this provision, it just means na by delivery. Okay? So, ano sabi ng Supreme Court tungkol sa acquiring ownership via tradition? So, sabi ng Supreme Court, ownership is not transferred by contract merely, but by tradition or delivery. Yan. Contracts only constitute titles or rights to the transfer or acquisition of ownership, while delivery or tradition is the mode of accomplishing the same, and the title and the method of acquiring it being different in our law. Yan. So that is the case of Aznar versus Yangko. It's a 1965 case. So,
bagong-bago.
Bagong-bago, yes. No? But these are old principles. No? So, yan. Now, so in terms of delivery, the law requires or recognizes two modes of delivery. There's actual delivery and yung constructive delivery. Now, ano naman yung actual delivery, Attorney Erwin? Like, kung nga rin, nagbenta ako sa'yo ng itong basong to. No?
Pag-abot ko, actual delivery.
Yan. Inabot ko sa'yo, yan, actual delivery na yan. Meron din tayong tinatawag na constructive delivery. Ano naman yung constructive delivery, Attorney Erwin?
By certain actions, it is deemed to be delivered.
Yes. So
without actually giving it.
So medyo parang parang symbolic.
Yes.
So kunwari, nagbentahan tayo ng kotse, no? Pag binigay ko sa iyo yung susi ng kotse.
Yun, para kunwari binibidyohan pang
may cheque, di ba?
Yung
may
malaki.
susi no, malaki, di ba?
Yung checking yun, good luck na lang kung dalhin mo sa bangko, di ba?
Paking cash po. No? Or susi to the house. And lot, no? These are symbolic acts of constructive delivery. Yan. Okay. So, may tanong naman ako, 'di ba? Sabi ni Wendy, no? So, attorney, I've been paying the real property taxes. So, dapat talaga na akin na 'yan, no? Now, I understand, no? That's something that somebody like Wendy would say. And totoo naman, there's no doubt that he's probably been paying yung amilyar niyan year in, year out.
From the 80s hanggang ngayon, ikaw sumasagot, mabigat yan.
Mabigat yan, no? So, but yun nga, based on our law, a buyer of real property, especially in our jurisdiction, dito sa Pilipinas, where we use the torrent system, yung mga titulo natin, that's what you call the torrent system, you cannot rely on your adverse or your possession of the property lang, no, and your religious payment of your property tax, no. So actually ang important dyan is PD, Presidential Decree 1529, no. So
PD,
yes,
bagong-bago rin,
bago na naman yan. Presidential Decree, yung original Marcos pa yan time, di ba? Okay, no. Okay, so section 47 is of PD 1529 says registered land not subject to prescription, no? So no title to registered land in derogation of the title of the registered owner shall be acquired by prescription or adverse possession. So ang ibig sabihin niyan, hindi porket you've been in possession of the property, Wendy, automatic na ikaw na, no? Because we need to respect yung titling system natin, yung torrent system natin.
So, Attorney Ramon, summarize ko yung portion na yun. Ownership can be acquired by actual delivery. Basically, nandun.
Yes.
However, kung may titulo, kahit gaano katagal ka dyan, hindi pwede yun.
Yes. Okay. So, ayan. So, yun yung sagot doon, Wendy. While it's not automatic, na doesn't say that you've owned the property, it's a good indication, no, that you do, no. So we'll talk about that a little later on, no. Okay, now, yeah. So taking into consideration what we talk about, just because no contract was executed, we need to take into consideration all the elements present, no, that there was delivery, there was possession, and there was and did a lot of acts to show that she really owned the property.
May laban.
May laban naman,
Kahit
no?
papaano.
But yun nga lang, it's just it's a lot harder to prove that Wendy owns the property. Okay? So, again, Wendy, even our listeners, please, you'll need to consult with your lawyer. No? What we're talking about here are just legal concepts using yung situation lang ni Wendy. Please do not use this as a substitute for actually consulting a lawyer who will study the facts, documents, and even research deeper to get a solid answer for you. No? So, please, again, consult your lawyer. Don't use us as don't quote us. No? So, next naman natin pag-uusapan is mga anong pwedeng mga gawin ni Wendy.
Let's tie everything together. Kumbaga, yung lahat na pinag-usapan, apply na natin.
Yes. Okay.
And we'll be back after this short break.
What can Wendy do now? Anong pwede niyang gawin? No? Now, if the goal of Wendy is to transfer the property.
And we're back.
All right. So, what can Wendy do now? Anong pwede niyang gawin? No? Now, if the goal of Wendy is to transfer the properties now or transfer it later on if in case Wendy dies, there's really no going around it. The issue needs to be dealt with now. Okay? So, the first thing that Wendy can do is document. She talk to the heirs kasi wala na si si Tito tsaka si Tita. Talk to the heirs and acknowledge and try to document yung sale that happened in the 80s. Okay? And then pay the necessary taxes and then get it transferred. No? Go through that yung listahan ng dapat gawin. Okay? Now, if ayaw ng heirs, like we mentioned earlier, you may or Wendy may try to compel yung heirs to issue or to respect yung document or yung sale that happened in the 80s, no? And put it down in writing. No, so there may be an opportunity there, no, but that will entail filing something in the courts.
So kailangan ng lawyer.
Yes, oo. Okay? And if that's not feasible, possibly, I'm not too sure about it, but maybe your lawyer can play around it. Maybe they can file an action to quiet yung title. No? But again, guys, these are remedies that you will really need the analysis and research and strategy of a lawyer.
Ang hirap kasi medyo kulang tayo sa details from the narrative.
Yeah. Okay. So we're just giving ideas, but please consult your own professional, your own lawyer. Okay, so marami tayong pinag-usapan today, Attorney Erwin. Number one is, first what we talked about is yung mga dapat gawin ni Wendy sana, if ngayon niya ginawa. Okay? Next, we talked about, does she own the property or not? No? And our answer there is, the contract may still be valid. No? It's just that hindi siya na-document. But you'll have to consult your lawyer kung ano yung mga actual na implications nung situation mo, Wendy. Okay? And lastly, we talked about what she can do. No? So we said she can talk to the heirs and document that sale, or compel the heirs to document that sale, or maybe file another action like maybe quieting of title. But again, please consult your lawyer. For most of you, this lesson was more than enough. And if it makes your life easier, then of course, you're welcome. But there are some of you who will watch this episode and end up asking more questions, such as, Attorney, how do we determine what to put in the estate? How do we determine who are the heirs? Or, Attorney, what's the complete process of transferring properties? Now, if that's you, then we invite you to check out the Estate Settlement Guide. It's a workshop, not a book, wherein as little as 1 hour, we give you a crash course on succession law and a general roadmap of the entire estate settlement framework. Now, with this guide, you will know exactly where you are in the process, regardless of whether you're doing it on your own or DIY, or if you've hired someone to assist you. You can access this workshop at info.legalguide.ph/estate today. Now, one last thing, guys. Acquiring real property is an important thing. There are formalities required by the law, and they're here to ensure that the right persons enjoy the rights to them. Now, let's be vigilant in ensuring that we follow those steps and procedures to make sure that your rights are protected. Well, not just your rights, but even the rights of your children and loved ones. So wasn't that simple? Now go make better choices.